Today, we are talking about the Victus Study program. This is a course that I have talked about many times on my channel, and you guys have asked me for my honest review. So today I'm going to share with you guys what you need, a few tips if this is a class you're considering teaching, and my personal thoughts, what I loved and what I didn't like as much. So let's get started. First off, what do you need to complete this program? All you need is the teacher's edition of the Study Skills program and the student workbook. Now, they do have several different student workbooks that you can choose from based on the age of your children. I did it with middle schoolers, so I just used their main program. I do believe they have one for younger kids and one for a little bit older as well. In addition to those two books, which is all that is required to complete the program, I did go ahead and get the Study Skills System DVD, and I'm going to share a little bit more about my thoughts on that here in just a second, but it was definitely a supplemental. Let's look now at what is covered within this curriculum. As it mentions in the title, it is a study skills class, but it is actually more than that. It really goes off the basis of where am I now? Where do I want to be, and how are we going to get there? So this dives into a lot more topics than just study skills and helps you to see that study skills is just a process or a system that can help you accomplish your long-term goals. While this study skills system is always used in relation to your academic life, the fact is the skills that are learned within this program are things that can be applied to all areas of life. And I really love that and saw my kids starting to apply these things to other areas. So as I mentioned, there are three sections. So the first one that your child is going to look at is where am I now? This is full of a lot of assessments and helping your children understand where are their study skills, what kind of learning styles are they strongest in, and what can you do if something is taught to you in a way that it doesn't feed to your strengths? How can you adapt or study better within your strengths to make the information stick? In section 2, we talk about where do we want to go from here. So it's teaching kids in a very practical way how to write a mission statement, how to write goals, how to make sure those goals are SMART goals, and the importance of priorities. The third and final section is how do we get there? How do we get to our goals and priorities? And this is the majority of the class. Within this class, you're going to learn all sorts of skills, like how to plan out an effective weekly and monthly schedule, how to organize your space for the best work environment, how to actively learn to read, where you are learning different specific strategies and skills that will help you in being able to process large amounts of information so that you can retain them better, note-taking skills on how to take the most effective notes, and test-taking skills. But how long does this course actually take? So they have a suggested schedule at the beginning of the book that recommends doing this over a 5-day period and kind of having a 1-week intensive. There are 10 lessons that you will cover, and they suggest doing 2 lessons each and every day. For some of these categories, I felt like that was not a problem. You could have done it that way. We chose to do 1 to 2 lessons every week instead of every day. I felt like this gives more of a chance for practicing these skills, making sure that they're actually being implemented and applied so that hopefully there would be more of a long-term retention. You could definitely do this in a homeschool co-op setting, and you could even spread it out over 10 weeks. Now, some of those weeks would be pretty mini lessons for sure, but we were able to do it in about an hour to an hour and a half once a week. So what did I love about this program? Well, I absolutely loved all the important skills. There were so many skills that I thought personally, if I had been taught this as a student, I could have excelled immensely. Yes, my kids have learned some note-taking skills from IEW's program. Yes, they have learned different things about listening or time management, but this really broke it down in an easy to understand way. Their PQRST method for reading information and being able to study it effectively was so simple and yet effective that even my husband, who is going back to college, is actually planning to use it for his upcoming classes. There were many practical assignments within this program, encouraging your kids to write out and track their time, or to take and make a sample schedule, having to work in and fit in those different pieces that need to be involved. Having them write their own mission statement and think about what they're hoping to get out of this class, as well as out of their whole academic career. I truly think this class is foundational. I think it is helpful. My personal preference would be to teach this in the middle school year, either during the summer like we did, or doing it throughout the actual school year. And if your child has never been introduced to these topics, to also teach that in the high school years. I also love the appendix. There is a lot of additional resources to help your child succeed beyond this program within the appendix. Things like a whole chart of mnemonic devices and strategies to help them remember, flashcards, checklists, and even a grade log that they can use to keep track of their grades when applicable. Now, what did I not like about the program, or what adaptations did I need to make? A couple of things, like I mentioned before. I think that 2 lessons a week or a day, depending on how you structure it, is not unreasonable, but there was 1 week in particular, I believe it was week 3, that it felt like it was a lot of information they were trying to cover, and I chose to break that up into 2 separate weeks instead of 1. So I definitely would personally suggest covering this information over 6 classes instead of trying to cram it all into 5. As far as the DVD goes, I originally thought that this would be something that I could possibly just put in the DVD and have my children listen along. I would not be part of the teaching process and they could just follow along in their workbooks. And you could do that for sure. However, the video quality, it was filmed in a classroom at a school, and while it was very helpful, and I'll get to that here in just a second, I did feel like it wasn't as engaging, and there was some like excess noise in the recording that made it distracting. So instead of having my students watch this and do this themselves, I chose to watch it as the teacher. It gave me a lot of great ideas on how to engage the kids. I really felt like I learned additional questions that I could ask, or different ideas on how I might answer questions that might come up. I was able to anticipate those better by watching the DVD. But personally, I wouldn't recommend it for your student to watch themselves. The other thing that was not my favorite is I felt like there were a couple of lessons that needed further explanation. And by watching the DVDs, I was able to get all of that extra explanation that I needed. However, since that is not a required resource, I felt like I would have been frustrated if I had just taught from this lesson. Now, if you have previous experiences or you are very strong in study skills, you probably could take what they had and be able to expound on it quite well. But for me, that was not a strong suit for me. And so I kind of struggled with how to do it as I was reading over the lessons until I was able to watch the DVDs. All in all, I would give this curriculum a 9 out of 10 stars. If it had been just a little easier to use or had a few more of those ideas that were in the DVD within the teacher's manual, I would have given it 10 out of 10. For sure. I'll leave links down below where you guys can find information for this course and look at it for yourself. And if you want to learn more about what I'm doing with my middle schoolers this year, check out my curriculum picks for them right up here. Talk to you later. Bye.